Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us bright and early this Saturday morning. Who says the news doesn't have good news?
Yeah.
Because Jerry Brown has that good news for us. It has to do with the weather.
Congressman Stephen Horsford was on fire today, saying that Cliven Bundy's comments are infused with racism and bigotry.
There was panic in the store, said reporter Elizabeth Donatelli.
One woman said she dropped to the floor when the shooter ran by her and texted her son, "I love you."
Police say that Stephen Woodard's grandfather may have been killed last night, but they did not discover him here in his home until a welfare check early this morning, finding a slider open.
Jessica, you might have noticed some trash blowing on the ground or maybe your hair blowing in the wind, but there's also that pesky pollen. Take a look over here. This is evidence right here that spring is in the air.
It's not easy to get down there. That's because we're in this very tiny elevator going 450 feet into the ground. They definitely hope so. We are 50 stories, that's right, 50 stories in the air, and I'll tell you what, there's not a lot between me and the ground. Tyrone, we're gonna give you the thumbs up to go ahead and take off. It's just me, so take a look at our story and enjoy.
Gerard, 5 people dead tonight, an active shooter in a local business, and 2 of the people who lost their life were officers here with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We begin with more information on them coming to us from Sheriff Doug Gillespie. Let's take a look at their pictures right now as we're learning they were patrol officers in the area. So who are these men? Well, first is 42-year-old Alan Beck. The second is 32-year-old Igor Soldo. Again, both patrol officers in this area, the sheriff describing them as family men. So what exactly happened? Well, let's take a look at the map of the situation. Beginning at CC's Pizza, they were eating lunch. Simply eating lunch, ambushed and shot and killed by a man and a woman who took their guns and their ammunition and then headed over here to Walmart. Back out live, you're taking a live picture of this Walmart near Nellis. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of activity. There are police officers still on scene. The Red Cross has been here today, and of course, the people who were inside Walmart at the time. So what happened? They went into, this man and the woman, into this store. They were inside of Walmart, and they had a weapon with them. They were yelling about a revolution, saying be ready for it, and also that the cops are suppressing their freedom. So the man and the woman, again, once inside the Walmart, we've learned that it ended in a gunfight with police, but it was a suicide pact. That's what police are describing this. The female shooting the male and then turning the gun on herself. So once again, it's been a difficult day here in Las Vegas. We can tell you 5 people dead, 2 officers, both of those suspects in the shooting, and also just a person who was inside the store. This is the section of the interstate that was shut down because of those snowy conditions. Ice still along the roadways and nearby. Less than 12 hours later, this is what we found in the very same spot, another accident.
I was expecting to see a dead body or something. I ran in, I was really glad to see that he was in there.
Cody Ballantyne was driving home to St. George, Utah when he saw this.
I hit the side and launched off a rock and was going on his side 10 feet in the air. Then landed down and kind of rocked and stopped. It was pretty crazy.
He stopped and helped the driver, who was trapped in the smoke from the airbags and radiator. The man climbed through his sunroof to safety, and we want to warn you, as you can imagine, he's a little bit bloody.
Do I look worse than I feel? No, I actually feel pretty good. I'm lucky.
Bob Larson hit a patch of ice, slid, and wound up on his side. His second serious accident in the last decade. 7 years ago, they had to life flight him to the hospital.
I'm supposed to be sticking around again, I guess. I don't know. It's, I'm lucky, basically.
This accident is in the same stretch of Interstate 15 that was closed earlier in the day, about 12 miles winding through the Virgin River Gorge. There was a series of accidents blocking traffic in both directions, trapping more than 300 cars Saturday night. Eric Paul and his daughter were in one.
After about 9 o'clock, I didn't move again till 9:30 this morning.
This Mesquite firefighter was making what was supposed to be a 40-minute drive to St. George, Utah.
Me and my daughter played games, and we made snowmen and threw snowballs and ate cookies and hung out.
The major thoroughfare fully reopening after being closed for about 13 hours. But as we've seen, the ice hasn't fully melted. Just feet away from his flipped car, a nurse helps Bob Larson. He's not in uniform because he's off duty. He and his family were driving by and stopped to help.
There's a lot of good people do good things. And help, I can pay it forward a little bit.
If you are heading north for the holidays, well, keep in mind that ice, particularly on this stretch of the roadway, can appear at any moment, like the ice I'm walking on right now. However, a shutdown like this doesn't happen very often. One trooper says he doesn't think it's happened in the last 30 to 40 years. Reporting on the border between Arizona and Utah, Elizabeth Donatelli, News 3.
Hi there, this is Catherine from Enchanted Florist.
It's business as usual for Catherine Knoll at the Enchanted Florist.
What day's good for you?
However, the day started a little differently.
It was a good morning. Hello. Whoa.
Just off the 15 at Sahara, a billboard reads, "Hope you're happy, Wall Street." Another said, "Dying for work." But the words aren't what people are talking about.
I posted it on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
A dummy hanging from the signs by a noose.
I think someone in the 99% is a little bit pissed off.
At 6:30 a.m., drivers started calling 911.
Some people thought that that was an actual body hanging from the sign.
Obviously, someone was trying to make a point, but the only impression it made on Trooper Jeremy Elliott was the potential safety hazard, distracting drivers on Nevada's busiest highways.
It was a clear case of vandalism. It was hastily done.
Lamar Advertising owns the D Street billboard. Vice President Chris Prickett told me on the phone it was not a paid advertisement.
It was a blank billboard until a message appeared early this morning. Now the company says they don't know anything about it and took it down immediately.
They're now blacked out and there's no sign of a dummy or who did it. Prickett says a security guard chased 2 people at a third location who could be involved, but so far, no suspect descriptions from police. The subject is anti-establishment, and while they're denying any involvement, Occupy Las Vegas emailed News 3 praising the message.
I take that there are, that I'm not one of the only people that are concerned about what's going on with the economy.
And people keep talking about it, which could give the short-lived stunt a lasting effect. Elizabeth Donatelli, News 3.
Nathan Burkett, at this point, he's an animal.
That's how Metro Police described Nathan Burkett. In his 60s, wheelchair-bound and accused of strangling multiple women. He is also Nevada's first capital case of 2013 and just one of 70 awaiting trial in Clark County, which has the most pending death cases in the country. But here's the thing, even if prosecutors get a conviction, the state can't execute him, because the existing chamber is not up to code.
The governor's proposing, I think, $800,000 to build a new death chamber in Ely. That's $800,000 we could spend on roads, we could spend it on schools, we could spend it on health care.
That's $692,289 to be exact. Last session, Senator Tick Segerblum proposed an audit that would detail the costs of a capital case and housing a death row inmate. It passed both chambers, but the governor vetoed it at the last minute, concerned that it would not be, quote, reliable and fair.
The key is no one is being killed right now. I mean, the death penalty is not being enforced. So we're spending huge, tens of millions of dollars on the upfront costs to convict people of the death penalty, but then they just sit on death row forever, which again seems kind of illogical to me.
Clark County has the highest amount of pending death cases of any jurisdiction in the country. In 2009, the DA filed 23 capital cases, 23 in 2010, 20 the next year, but just 5 in 2012. The year District Attorney Steve Wolfson took office.
Our homicide rate is down, but I think that in the 11 months that I've been the district attorney, my office is taking kind of a different perspective on the filing.
Wolfson points out that capital punishment is still the law in Nevada. He meets with 10 attorneys twice a month to review potential death cases, but says it should be reserved for the worst of the worst.
Does any of it have to do with cost savings?
It does. I think that as a department head, I have a responsibility to be sensitive to costs, so it is one of the many factors, but it certainly isn't the most important factor. I think the most important factor is justice.
Wolfson agrees capital cases cost his office more, but the financial burden weighs most heavily on the defense. And that's echoed by public defender Philip Cohn.
Well, I'm hoping the new district attorney will review the cases filed by his predecessor, determine if there's any cases that we can resolve. I believe there are. But there's a number of cases.
Wolfson tells us he will not do a sweeping review, but does address individual concerns on a case-by-case basis. In the meantime, Cohen has to look for ways to trim the defense costs.
Will we better serve Nevada by building a death chamber, or will we be better off by, employing psychologists and psychiatrists to stop the next horrific killing?
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us bright and early this Saturday morning. What does your weekend have in store for you? Well, we have the man with all the answers right here, and I know your graphic a few minutes ago said nice, nice, nice. I like to hear that.
I was editorializing a little, but I consider 77 and sunny nice.
I
with
think
light
most
winds.
people do.
I mean, I hope I'm in the majority. I hope your weekend includes outdoor plans. However, another system will come in and give us some winds, and the usual stuff. Tends to get windy around here it's spring.
When I'm outside doing live shots, I'm sure that some of the viewers have seen, my hair is crazy. It's all over the place because it is just so windy here.
It shouldn't be too bad today if you're out.
Okay, good. Well, I'll go and have my hair in perfect style today.
You won't need the hairspray.
All right, thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
Now, the drive to Phoenix could get a little easier with plans for an interstate to connect the two cities. Yesterday, Governor Brian Sandoval, along with Arizona Governor Jan Brewer, unveiled Interstate 11 corridor signs. Both stressed that the dream will happen. News 3's Antonio Castellan has that story.
News 3.
And once it finally does get built, the plan is to connect I-11 to Canada and all the way down to Mexico. Governor Brian Sandoval has signed the first contract with a confidential drone company in an effort to diversify Nevada's economy. Sandoval is working with 15 to 20 more drone companies who plan to move here to test the commercial use of drones. Nevada is one of 6 places chosen by the FAA to be a test site for commercial drones because of partly the vast amount of airspace that can be used. The drone business could bring as many as 15,000 jobs to Nevada. This week, Las Vegas City Council agreed to move forward with plans to allow medical marijuana dispensaries within the city limits. Now, however, dispensary rules still need to be finalized at the state level. In the meantime, the city will hold 2 public meetings for people interested in operating a dispensary or in cultivating facility within the city. The meetings are scheduled for Wednesday, March 26th and Tuesday, April 1st, both at 3 p.m. at the Development Services Center. That is on Rancho near Bonanza. City Council also extended a moratorium on accepting license applications until July 2nd. Nevada lawmakers are scheduled to meet next week to discuss the next step in cementing regulations. Even if governing bodies at all levels finalize the rules without further delays, well, it's not going to be any time soon. It could still be early 2015 before the dispensaries can open. A little girl many people feared might not make it after being hit by a car surprised all of us when she finally opened her eyes, and now she's surprising people again. After 5 long months of recovery, first in the hospital and then a rehab center, 6-year-old Brazil Ward is finally home. Oh, glad to see her finally home there. Now, still to come. Take a look at this video. Things got a little out of hand. That is during a controlled burn with firefighters. More on that and what this really is coming up after the break. But